following podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. Like what you hear? Want more of it ad-free, uncensored, and earlier? Sign up today at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and start getting more for as little as $2 a month.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for your main event, where news and opinions on the sport of kings collide. WrestleMedia is proud to present The Wrasslun Show.
Welcome to The Wrasslun Show, part of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling, and wrestling is everything. I'm at Adam Kota. That's at Matthew Sukram. Matt, welcome back. I missed you, man. It was me and Andrew Kent, so I gotta tell you, no more was your presence missed than on last week's episode.
It's weird. He tells me the same thing about all his other co-hosts on We Have Till 5.
Well, you know, you are one of a kind, sir.
I am one of a kind, but not a lot of people like the one thing they get out of me, so.
Well, you know what? Your wife got two, so that's the thing that you got to remember.
It's true.
I guess technically
way more than she ordered.
I guess technically you got two out of her is really the more accurate way to describe it, wouldn't it?
I mean, if we have to bring real anatomy into this.
Oh, and we do. This is a wrestling podcast. And sorry, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know what show's so silly?
Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night SmackDown. AEW show, NXT, pretty
Grey's
much
Anatomy.
Any wrestling show, but yes, Grey's Anatomy especially. I hate that show. I hate it.
Oh, man. Does Kayla watch it?
She does. It's one of her favorites.
So, we have so much in common.
Essentially, I understand how she feels, though, because if Kayla started a Grey's Anatomy podcast network... I would probably never want to be on it, so I can kind of understand.
And Sarah would.
There you go. Maybe Kayla and Sarah should start a Grey's Anatomy podcast.
And in their first week, they'd have way more Patreons than we have.
I guarantee it. Oh my God. That is not a show that I enjoy, but I did enjoy what we have on this week's show, Matthew. I had a chance to talk to a very interesting individual who I think is going to make some big waves in the world of professional wrestling. Alice Starr, Canada's first and only drag wrestler. I was fascinated by Alice the first time I met them at the Muskoka Comic-Con. We got to exchange information, and I asked them to please be on the show. They agreed, and I'm really interested to hear what people think of the philosophy that they've come up with when it comes to wrestling, because I think that they've got their head and their heart in the right place. And I know that many people may not have heard of Alice outside of where they compete locally, but I'll tell you, they're going to hear a lot about them in the future because they've got a really unique perspective on pro wrestling and a really great attitude. And I can't wait for more people to know the name Alice Starr. And I hope they learn more about them from this podcast. Now, that's coming up, Matt. But, of course, we've been doing a lot of interviews here on The Wrasslun Show. Maybe so many that people can't keep up. They're just like, I don't even know. There's so much to go on just on this show alone, let alone everything else that's happened in the weeks here at WrestleMedia. How do I keep up with it all? Matt, maybe you have a suggestion for a great way for people to keep up with the highlights of the week here at WrestleMedia.
Go to WrestleMedia.ca and click on that newsletter, because that newsletter is going to come at you whether you like it or not, but you will definitely like it.
It's the most aggro letter in podcast.
It'll just pop up on there on your email box, and you'll get everything you need to figure out where we are, what we're doing, who we're talking to, the content of our shows coming up that week, or the content of the shows that just aired. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo, but it features Adam, and you figure out where he is in Ontario.
I still have this image of this newsletter popping out from your email and like force feeding you drinks and like being like, let's go, bro. Come on. Chug that information.
It is kind of what it's like, because it's not it doesn't take you long to read through it. It's just quick and easy, and there's a lot in there. But it doesn't overwhelm you.
Some newsletters like to advertise themselves as being, smooth and going down easy. But our newsletter is more like a shot of Jägermeister. You just kind of grin and bear it and suck it down quick so you get that buzz going fast.
And it will be an enjoyable buzz. It will get you on the dance floor.
So go ahead, get your boogie on by signing up for our newsletter at WrestleMedia.ca. Hey, and while you're there, you can also check out our YouTube channel. Yeah, you don't actually have to directly go to YouTube. We actually put all the videos up on our website. But if you were to go to the official YouTube channel, which you can link to via WrestleMedia.ca, you can subscribe and get notifications for when we put out new videos. I've got about 3 weeks worth of video footage going all the way back to SummerSlam weekend of us going to all these shows and doing stuff. Well, except for you, Matt. I know I had a realization earlier this week. You're like the one wet blanket. You didn't go, at least, here's what I'll say. Half the crew went to the Chinlock show, and then the other half went to the SummerSlam weekend. The only person to have missed out on both big-time events during this year has been you. What the hell, man? Like, you're supposed to have my back. You're here since day one. You're the OG, and you couldn't be here for the big events? What's going on, man? You're gonna have to relive this via our YouTube channel.
I got kids.
Ah, come on. So does Jeff. So does Danny. So does Mike.
One.
I'm also realizing...
Oh, wait, Danny has 2. Crap.
That's right. I'm also realizing Jesse hasn't come to either of these shows, so I can't really get mad at him. I can't really get mad at you, I guess. I get mad at the two of you. Party poopers.
You can. We'll just
instead
sit over here and be like, yeah, I know.
But instead of that, what we'll do is I'll have you make it up to me by subscribing and getting your notifications for our YouTube channel so that we can reach our goal of 100 subscribers. I would love to have 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel.
I'm just going to run around the street Billy Eichner style.
And be like, do you listen to WrestleMedia on YouTube?
Thank you. That you said it better than I could.
That was my Billy Eichner impression. I actually think I did a pretty good job on that one.
I thought you nailed it.
Well, I'm hoping that we nailed this interview with Alice Starr. What a great personality and a pretty darn good wrestler to boot as well. We're going to throw to that. We're going to enjoy that interview, and then when we come back, we're going to show a little bit more, and we're going to wrap things up. And in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, not just a wrestler, but an experience, Alice Starr. I'm really honored today to have on the line with me a very special guest, someone I recently met at the Muskoka Comic-Con. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not yet met Alice Starr, you are about to. Alice, thank you so much for being on The Wrasslun Show.
Adam, thank you so much.
I am very honored to be here with you. You put on a heck of a performance against the Foot Clan Soldier at the big show, and you certainly gave the crowd something that maybe they're not used to seeing here in Canada, because you are Canada's first and only drag wrestler.
Yeah, totally. Like, there's a bunch of... Can I swear on this? Can I swear?
You certainly can be you. If I have to edit it for my family-friendly viewing audience, that's fine, but we want you to be you. Say whatever you want.
Okay, just bleep it all. Yeah,
that's
okay,
right.
So there's some out there who think they can wrestle. No, there's been some drag queens who think they can get into a little pool of pudding and try to throw some fists around, but nobody has really, done the drag gimmick like I have. And it's really, for me, it's a way of life, Alice is me, I am Alice. And so very much so, it's just about doing something new and doing something different and showing people something they've never seen before.
I want to talk about the birth of Alice Starr, where you kind of came from. What was the inspiration for you?
It all started in the back of a pickup truck heading 100 miles an hour down the 401. No, it didn't. Really,
this is the world of pro wrestling, so that does sound
it very
like
much
this
could have been true.
It does sound like the start of a story we would hear on the Wrasslun Show. It wouldn't be uncommon.
I was, I was born out of necessity because wrestling it's too serious right now. Like, it's like everybody wants to be the toughest, coolest guy out there, and it's just like when there's a world that's built on. It's centers around hyper masculinity, and it's really like in a way toxic masculinity. Everybody's hopped up on testosterone. It's like you need someone to come in and just shake things up and be a disruptor. Nobody's been a drag queen wrestler, and so when I walk into that arena, in that hall, in that gymnasium, wherever I am, I don't care. I'm in a McDonald's. I don't care. I'll walk in, and when you leave that place, I'll be the one you remember. Who are you going to remember? Joe Nobody in, gears that he got off High Spots? Or are you going to remember the drag queen that has hair up to the ceiling wearing a $800 boa coat and all custom gear, and the person that made you laugh, that made you cry, made you cheer, made you boo? So it was built out of necessity because I wanted to see a character that I wanted to see, or I wanted to be a character that I wanted to see. So... yeah, go ahead. I heard you talking.
I was just about to take a breath and ask, because I have to ask the question, which is that what you're looking for when you perform, when you head to the ring? Is that one of your goals, is to shake things up with that audience, to present something to them that they've never seen before, or maybe that they weren't expecting? Yeah,
totally. I mean, like... obviously, because it's such a new concept, and it's not. And when I say new concept, like there have been things that are similar to drag. Let's get real. Like a lot of people their first instinct is Gold Dust, and I mean, Gold Dust is not drag. It has similarities, but Gold Dust really, when you look at the art of drag, that's so far from it. And then there's people like Cassandro in Mexico, and there's a whole bunch of people where I obviously do take inspiration from, and they're pioneers, and I will give them all the credit they deserve. But it's I always lose my train. What was the question?
I was asking about when you perform in a match, when you're going to the arena and there's people in the audience, are you there to kind of shock them out of their seats a little bit? And I don't mean that in a negative sense, as in something shocking or something negative. But you mentioned earlier the idea that there's a toxic masculinity within pro wrestling. There's a hyper masculinity there. But seeing a drag wrestler is something that might shake them out of that mindset or that idea. And I'm just curious, is that a goal for you when you're in the ring? Is that one of the things that you set out to do when you're booked on a show?
Yeah, I'm definitely there to kind of disrupt things, because the wrestling has had a history of being, just such a masculine sport, masculine source of entertainment. When I walk down there, it's about offering something new. And I always say this, like, I'm not... I don't feel like I am responsible to push any sort of agenda. That's not my intention to walk down there. Really, my intention to go down there is to really just entertain. At the end of the day, that's my intention. But I do have a responsibility when it comes to certain like LGBTQ issues that do arise. And I know that there are a lot of LGBTQ wrestlers and wrestling fans who don't feel like the sport is really as inclusive as it could be. So although I don't go down there and being like, this is what I stand for, I do think I do have a certain level of responsibility when those types of issues arise. Really, since I was a kid, it was all about kind of being the standout. I always wanted to be the star. I always wanted to be, pun intended, of course, I always wanted to be the one that was stealing the show. So I just think that for me to go out there and do something that's so different and people haven't seen this before, I do want to shake things up because I want people to remember me.
You said when you were younger, you wanted to be the center of attention. You wanted to be a star. Was that inspired by professional wrestling? Was professional wrestling something that you were into growing up? Was it something that you discovered later on in life? Where did your love affair with this interesting world of entertainment start?
Oh, that's a great question. I love answering it too. So my love of wrestling actually started from SmackDown vs. Raw, the video game. I'm a huge video game nerd. That's all I live for video games and wrestling, of course, and wrestling video games. But really, it started at my friend's place. He had he jailbreaked his PS2, and his dad worked at IBM, and someone at his work had all these different games, like just binders and binders of games. And so we just would play. And then eventually we were playing SmackDown vs. Raw, and we got hooked. That was the only game we were playing. We had this binder full of games, and we just didn't play anything else. And so I got familiar with wrestling through that. I thought it was dumb. Like, even though my parents didn't let me watch wrestling when I was a kid. And it was funny because they bought me Stone Cold pajamas. So I don't know where that came from. They just thought it was cool maybe. And so obviously I knew wrestling and I didn't like it, and I made fun of kids for liking it. Not that I was a bully, but just schoolyard kind of make fun of with your friends. And so once I started playing the games, and then we started watching it, it was Raw one night. It was Shelton Benjamin versus Shawn Michaels, and it was that super kick where Shelton Benjamin does a springboard in, and bam, sweet chin music right on Shelton Benjamin.
Classic moment.
And I just remember seeing that, and just my mind blowing up into a million different pieces and scattered across the room. And I was at my friend's place, and it goes to commercial, and I bolted it home. I ran, and I made it home to watch the end of Raw. And it was from that day forward, it was wrestling is something that I love.
So at what point do you make the decision that this isn't just something that I love and I'm a fan of, this is something I want to do?
Listen, when you get to my age, you realize you're not getting any older and your body's not getting any better. It got to a point where I was touring in rock and roll bands for a long time, and the music thing slowed down a little bit, and then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, this is something that I've always wanted to do. In high school, I even started a wrestling fund. I started a savings account, and I threw all my money in there. And I was like, either I'm going to spend this on wrestling school or hookers and blow later on. And so I chose probably the worse option, but at the same time, I figured, this is gonna be fun. And so eventually, I just went and started training, and then it wasn't until a bit later that I realized the drag thing. It's this is something I want to do, and so now once I put the two together, it just kind of clicked. I realized that this is really something special.
I want to talk a little bit about your influences as a pro wrestler. Earlier, you had mentioned Cassandro and, of course, the Exoticos that exist down in Mexico. You had mentioned Goldust in terms of a character, but who are your influences in terms of your in-ring style and maybe with where Alice kind of came from? Is there an influence from wrestling, or is it from somewhere else?
Well, yeah, of course. I of course have wrestling influences. Number one is, and this is going to be so far from what people would expect, but maybe not, is Bret Hart. Bret Hart's my number one influence. And I just love how technical he was and the stories that he told. My favorite match of all time is him versus British Bulldog SummerSlam. And just that story that was told that night was absolutely incredible. Because at the end of the day, wrestling is storytelling. That's what it is. And so is drag. It's the same thing. And so really my in-ring is inspired by that. And I try to show people things that aren't things that they'd be expecting, this is no shade on Sunny Kiss, but Sunny Kiss, when you go see a Sunny Kiss match, it's what you're going to get, what type of moves you're going to see. And I don't want people to look at me and go okay, it's always going to be this, it's that dang gay again, it's no, that stuff's fun, but I also want to suplex the hell out of someone, Were you at all concerned about presenting a drag character to an audience that has oftentimes been typecast as being less than sensitive to the drag community? Hell yeah. Yeah, of course. But I also don't care at the same time. It's kind of like this weird, like, it's like I'm semi-nervous, but I also don't care at the same time. You know, like when I've encountered people who are prejudiced, are, you know, since the short time that I've been out there. And it's not surprising. But at the same time, it's like I kind of knew which hill I was trying to climb when I started this. You know?
So let's talk a little bit about your training, because you trained with some really greats, including Yuki Chicawa. And,
oh, yeah.
And I'd like you to just talk a little bit about your relationship with him and him as a trainer and a mentor, and what it meant to get trained and sit under the learning tree of such a legend.
Well, Yuki's pretty bomb. I'll say that. He's pretty bomb. And anybody that knows him knows that he knows his stuff. You know, he's a legend for a reason. And I really enjoyed learning under him because he's got such an emphasis on the shoot style. Like that's what I love. I don't want to go out there and not know what I'm doing, in terms of, like, if you're going to put on an armbar, you know, you better put on an armbar. Like, the wrestling fans are so smart nowadays, right? And it's like they watch the UFC, and so they know how to put on an armbar. If you don't know how to put an armbar, then why are you in that ring? And so Yuki was the person that really is like he put an emphasis on making sure that the story that you told and the moves that you did made sense. Nothing is wasted. And I don't ever want to waste someone's time. You know, they paid hard-earned money to see someone entertain them.
I have to ask, and if I am speaking out of school here, please just let me know, because I'm certainly not trying to be offensive. But I do want to ask this question, which is, do you think that you have created a challenge for yourself in presenting a drag character as a serious wrestler, when most people would associate drag performance with kitsch and over the top and comedy? But you are asking the audience to look at your character and say, that's a badass right there because of what you do in the ring. Now, was that a conscious decision to challenge yourself that way, or is it just something that kind of happened because of who you are?
Well, it is who I am. Like, I have never, ever cared what people think of me. And which is kind of funny, because that's kind of, you're in an industry where you need people to like you.
Yeah.
But I think people see through that when it's fake, when it's forced, especially when it's drag. Like, listen, if I was going to walk down there and not be a real, someone who loves drag, if I was doing this to take advantage of the medium and try to do something different because of it, you'd see it in an instant. Okay. You got to love what you do. And I see that with other wrestlers. Listen, they walk down there and I see through them. And you see through them, and then we all see through them, and we're just kind of blind. We don't talk about it. But listen, some people are really lame when they walk down and and step inside that ring. And so really, you just have to be yourself. And if people don't like it, then they don't like it. You know, there's going to be people in the drag community who don't like it. There are people in wrestling that don't like it. Listen, I am there to entertain. I want to make you laugh. I'm wearing a wig that's teased to the sky, okay? And I'm wearing an outlandish outfit, and I'm maybe grinding up on you, or maybe I'm mad at you, and I'll say, I'll read you. I don't care. I'll walk down there and I'll read you. But listen, like, whatever reaction you get out of it, that's great. I just want a reaction. I just want you to leave and be satisfied with your time at whatever show you've been there. And so that's the thing, is if people don't want to take me seriously, that's okay, because they're not going to take me seriously, but they're going to get left behind.
You mentioned earlier that a character like a Sunny Kiss is an act that you'll see and you'll know what to expect from them. When you see Sunny Kiss and others like them on a national stage like an AEW, Is it inspiring? Do you view it as a positive thing, or do you see it as something? It could be so much more. How do you react when you see somebody like a Sonny Kiss getting that kind of exposure?
I mean, it's good and bad. And here, this is what I have to say about that. So Sonny Kiss is Sonny Kiss. Like, if you've ever met Sonny Kiss, you know that is Sonny Kiss. Like, just straight up. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to fault Sonny Kiss for perpetuating some sort of idea of what people think that the LGBTQ community is like, like, because that is Sonny. So that's totally cool. But like, I do think at the same time there needs to be more representation. Sonny Kiss is one aspect of it. There's so many aspects. It's like, with Sonny Kiss isn't drag, and people often confuse that, right? Was it Jim Cornette called it like a drag queen? Like, Sonny Kiss isn't drag. Like, just straight up, Sonny Kiss is not drag. So it's really about educating the audience. So to answer your question, yeah, it's fantastic that someone like Sonny Kiss is getting national exposure, and people hopefully are becoming more accepting of different styles of wrestling and different styles of people. But at the same time, not like they can't just think that is just one aspect of a bigger picture.
What has the response been from the drag community and the pro wrestling community? Has there been a similar response, or has there been some division? No division. Because I mean, like, listen, like, the only division is the homophobes that, like, let's get real. Like, people that are cool with it are like totally down. They see it. They see how I look gorgeous, first of all, and I always say, like, I want every man and woman in there to want to get with me. And if I wouldn't want to get with me, then who else would? Good point.
So listen, there's a lack of profession, of professionality. What's it? Professionalism. Hey, there we go. I'm really great at being professional. That was all on purpose. No, seriously, there's a lack of professionalism in indie wrestling, especially around Ontario. Like, some people are really lame. I'm just going to say it. Like, they're really lame, and they don't put in the effort. Like, put in the effort, get good photos done, get a good custom costume that you didn't get off High Spots, put in effort, like, do something different. Show me something I haven't seen before. Tell me something I haven't heard before. And so really that's just what it comes down to. You just have to be you and do something different.
What are your goals? Sorry, go ahead.
No,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, when you are you, and when you fully, like, embrace who you are, it doesn't matter if, one community or the other doesn't like it, or individuals don't like it, because, hey, if you like what you're doing, then do it. I just say, hopefully you've got better taste than what I've seen out there.
I definitely know that you've got some good taste, because I've seen your outfits. I've seen the quality of your gear that you put into, the photos that you put into. You make a good point that, if you're going to be passionate about something, you better be prepared to show that you have that passion out there. So my next question for you then is, what's next for Alice Starr? What is on your bucket list right now? What do you want to achieve in the wrestling business?
1 million followers on Instagram. That's the first goal.
Okay.
No, honestly, I just want to entertain. I want to make some money at it. I'm not going to lie. I want to live. And I just want to be basically like, I want to be a pioneer. I don't care. Like, some people will shy away from saying certain things like that because they think it comes off as egotistical, and I don't care. Like, you want to be the one that's stepping up. And I want to be a pioneer, not only for, LGBTQ community, but for wrestling. Like, turn it on its head. Let's do something different. And so at the end of the day, that's what's next. It's just shake things up. That's all I want to do. Championship here, big match here. That's great. But to really make a difference and be remembered at the end of the day, that's what I want.
Well, Alice, let's work on that first goal of the million Instagram followers. Tell everybody where they can find you via social media.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Insta at official Alice Starr, and that's with 2 R's because, like, in case wrestling doesn't work out, there's another industry that I could jump into.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there you go. You can find me there, and you'll find me in like some nice, cute outfits and some like amazing looks, and you'll love it. So go follow me.
And of course, is that where promoters can find you as well if they want to get a hold of you and bring the new sensation out to their shows?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Find me there. You can probably send me a telegram, send a pigeon. I don't care.
Pigeon,
Come find me. Listen, you can email AliceStarBookings@gmail.com, or you can just DM me. It's all good.
There you go. There you have it. Alice, thank you so much for being on this show. I'm sure the first of many. Again, it's a real honor to have Canada's first and only drag wrestling superstar here on the Wrasslun Show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Adam.
It's been fabulous.
You're fabulous.
Thank you. Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today. And there you have it, Alice Starr, Canada's first and only drag wrestler. I'm really excited to see when more people discover Alice, the reaction that they will have to the performer that they are, because they're a unique individual, and I think in the best way possible. I think they're very... the philosophy they have about what they're there to do, their purpose, I think it's one that you don't always see in the world of pro wrestling, but they've got a good head on their shoulders. And you know what? I also happen to know that Alice has cats. So anyone that has cats is okay by me. Heck, it's why I asked you to do the podcast with me. It wasn't because I respected your opinion about wrestling. It was because, you've got cats. You have kids and you have cats.
It's very true.
So, it works out okay.
We should add that to the newsletter.
Like how are Matt's cats? Matt's cats. We'll just put that as a little section in the corner. Matt's cats. That's pretty good. I like that. Maybe we can get a little...
Or the views from the kitties, and each week we feature a different cat that one of the people on WrestleMedia has, and just get their take on the productions this week.
I think that is a genius idea. Your cats should review the podcast every single week on our newsletter. That's a great idea. If you would like to see Matt's cats review the podcasts, let us know on our social media platforms, Matt, because we have a couple of them. Where can our loyal listeners follow us?
I think we're on the Twitter.
We are on the Twitter.
I think we are also on Instagram.
We are on Instagram.
Do we Snapchat?
We don't Snapchat. We don't.
Good.
We don't do any of that.
Good.
Instagram is enough. We've got enough on the gram.
It is. It is way too much.
But we also do the Book of Faces.
But we also do. Yes, we're also hitting you in the face with some books.
That's what our newsletter does. It comes out and punches you in the face because it's very aggro.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Look up WrestleMedia. CA.
You got it.
Yeah, and just honestly, you could probably just Google WrestleMedia.ca right now, and everything will come up.
Well, of course, our home is WrestleMedia.ca. That's where you can find the links to any of this stuff. But we'd love for you to follow us on all those social media platforms. Reach out to us. You got a question, you got a comment. Maybe you want to hear Matt and I talk about a certain subject or interview a certain wrestler. Like, we'll do what we can. If you ask us to interview The Rock, I mean, we would love to. It might be a little harder for us to do it, but we'll try.
We may or may not splice different pieces of his other interviews into our content.
That's genius. I tell you what, patrons, well, I was going to say patrons, but anybody can listen to this podcast. Anybody who wants us to do an interview with a wrestler that we have no way of accessing, dead or alive, let us know, and we'll try to do an interview with them by splicing pieces of other media featuring that wrestler into the interview. I think that's a
no
fun
one
idea.
has ever gotten sued by doing that before.
Well, no. I mean, if we make sure that it's a work of fiction and parody, Weird Al did it for years. Come on. I mean, believe me, Weird Al has more credibility and respect than us, but I'm just saying that, he got away with it. Why can't we?
There's no reason.
That's right.
Exactly.
And if for some reason the estates of these wrestlers want to come after us, well, they can find us on the road. We'll be on the run from the law and on tour with WrestleMedia at various locations and places. For example, coming up on September the 7th, we are going to be in Angus, Ontario for Rock Solid Wrestling's Anarchy in Angus, featuring former Impact Wrestling star Crazy Steve as he makes his way home. Of course, Cody Deaner will be there. The Piss Beaters, Jake O'Reilly, and Anthony Darko will be there, plus a whole lot more talent as well. It's going to be an incredible show. Sea Valley Wrestling is going to be having an event on September the 14th. I've heard rumors that WrestleMedia will be there along with a certain franchise superstar. No, not Shane Douglas, a franchise of the Danny variety. So don't get excited, but he will be there as well with us. So there's some stuff you can look forward to if you ever want to find out where else we're going to be on tour. The best way to check that out is the on tour button at WrestleMedia.ca. Matt, I've had a good time talking to you today, and we're not quite done just yet because we've still got a whole portion for the patrons coming up. Now, people listening to this may be asking themselves, well, wait, I want a portion. If they want a portion, Matt, where can they go?
Go to patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, and you can get a $2 portion. You can get a $5 portion. You can get a $10 portion, but you really want a $20 slice.
That's what you want. Okay, so I see. We get portions and slices.
I mean, for that kind of money, yeah.
I'm not even going to lie. When you started saying that, I was picturing, when you go to the fair and they have those rib shacks and they give out the big slabs of pulled pork, like just the giant buckets of pulled pork that you can buy.
Yes, I do recall this year going to a fair and saying, can I have a bucket of pulled pork?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how all restaurants do it, isn't it? Or is it just me?
It's exactly how they do it.
So that's what I was figuring. Like, you got the little tiny pulled pork $2 portion, then the $5 portion that fits on the bun, then the $10 portion, which is like the side of the plate, and then the $20. But see, and then you said slice, and then I got really confused because I saw the pulled pork in the shape of a slice of pizza. And I would just pulled pork pizza blew my mind a little bit there. So well done, Matt. You gave me an aneurysm here on the air. Well done.
For $2, you get a pepperoni. For $5, you get some cheese. And then you just add it on until you get that full slice.
The deluxe slice. And that's really what the $20 level is, because not only do you get extra content, like Matt and I talking about some incredible subjects. For example, during the Patreon portion, we're going to talk about Edge, about how he may be ready to step back into the ring. We're going to talk about the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why coming up. Also, we're going to be taking a look at some other missed match tag teams. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins are now Raw Tag Team Champions. We're going to take a look back at some other tag teams who were not only partners, but also competitors, and see which ones we think worked and which ones didn't work. That's what's on the docket for our patrons. And if you want to get a little taste of that, head on over to patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca to get your portion. However, whatever size the bucket of portion you want, just throw a few ducats in our bucket to get your bucket of podcasting. That doesn't make any sense. That's not very good. Get your slice. I think we'll keep going with your slice. Get your slice, but I still want pulled pork on the pizza is all I'm saying. If I'm going to be paying $20 a month, I want pulled pork on my pizza.
Well, I know what I'm having for dinner tonight. I don't care what my kids want. They are getting pulled pork on some pizza.
In a bucket.
In a bucket. Can I at least have a fork? No!
No, eat it with your hands.
This is how they do it on Patreon.
Sign up for our newsletter now and win a bucket of pulled pork.
It may or may not contain all the pulled pork.
If we do that, then I think we have to get Scott Steiner as our spokesperson.
The bucket of pulled pork shows up to someone's house and it's like, hey, this isn't full. And Scott Steiner shows up. I gotta tell you something. Sometimes when you order a bucket of pulled pork, you only get half the pulled pork.
and it goes on from there. And the beat goes on over on our Patreon side. Thanks so much for everybody who listened to us this week. If you can't support us on Patreon, be our own personal Dave Meltzer and leave 5 stars on iTunes with a positive review. Or if you're listening to us on Spotify or Stitcher or Google Play or SoundCloud or any other fine podcast producer, share the podcast. Let a friend know. Let an enemy know. Let a family member know. Let a stranger know. Just run down the street with a bucket of pulled pork in your hands yelling, "Listen to the Wrasslun Show on WrestleMedia.ca." I'm sure you'll make tons of new friends that way. Those are all the ways that you can help us. But most of all, we just want to thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. On behalf of WrestleMedia for the Wrasslun Show, I'm at Adam Conta. That's at Matthew Sukram. And you know what to do. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything.
Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. For years, he's told everybody that his neck is so fragile that if he were to take a bump the wrong way, he could die. So he was never going to have another match, never going to get physical in the ring again. Well, he got pretty physical, and that got the rumor mill going. And Edge didn't help things any this week.
Nope.
When he posted basically a photo that makes me cry every time I watch it, realizing I'll never be as jacked as he is. Holy cow. Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.